You know that feeling? You look around, see everything you've built,
Mm.
your life, and, well, on paper it looks great, right? Solid, maybe even impressive.
Hmm.
But underneath, there's this, I don't know, a quiet hum, maybe? A sense that you're just kind of going through the motions.
Yeah, that's a really common experience, actually. We call it the paradox of modern dissatisfaction.
Paradox, right?
Yeah,
Because the success is there externally, but it doesn't quite match up with how you feel inside. There's a gap.
exactly. Our society often pushes us towards, productivity, having loads of contacts, doing a bit of everything.
Mm-hmm.
But chasing all that, well, for a lot of people, it can feel surprisingly empty. You pile up achievements, connections, but the actual depth, the satisfaction, maybe not so much.
Okay, yeah. And this is where our deep dive gets really interesting, I think. We started exploring this idea that maybe individuals with different cognitive styles,
You mean neurodivergent individuals?
exactly, people whose brains process information differently than, let's say, the majority, think autism, ADHD, things like that. Well, maybe they hold some keys to unlocking a more engaged, authentic way of living for, well, for everyone. Their perspectives might really offer something valuable.
It's fascinating because many neurodivergent people naturally have tendencies that kind of push back against that autopilot feeling we were talking about.
Oh, how so?
Well, their brains are often wired to prioritize different things, different aspects of experience, and that can lead to uh, a much richer, more genuine engagement with life. It's less about surface level stuff.
Okay, let's dig into that. One core idea that really stood out was this concept of cultivating depth over breadth.
Ah,
We hear
yes.
so much about being well-rounded, having lots of irons in the fire, dabbling here and there.
Totally. The
Mhm.
pressure to know a little about everything.
But for many neurodivergent people, there's often this intense focus, a natural pull towards specific interests, which leads to like real expertise and deep fulfillment.
Precisely. Think about someone who gets absolutely captivated by, say, astronomy, or maybe a super specific historical niche.
Right.
They might pour hours into it, noticing tiny details others miss, building this incredible mastery. And that provides a really significant sense of personal satisfaction. It's that flow state people talk about.
Low, yeah, where the
Yeah,
challenge meets your skills perfectly.
exactly. And that focused engagement, it releases dopamine, fosters this deep sense of accomplishment, something you often miss when you're just scattering your attention everywhere.
So the practical idea here isn't suddenly trying to become a world expert overnight,
Right.
right?
Well, then,
It's more like pick one thing, something that genuinely sparks your curiosity. Maybe it is bird watching, or you've always wondered about chess strategy, or maybe mastering Thai cooking, or really understanding music theory.
whatever it is that pulls you in.
And then actually commit some time to it, like properly schedule it. Say,
Yeah.
okay, 2 hours every Saturday morning, and really immerse yourself.
And crucially, document that journey. Not like you're studying for a test, memorizing facts.
Mhm.
No, more like
Mhm.
focusing on the connections you're making, the aha moments, the personal insights that pop up. It's very similar, actually, to the deep satisfaction many autistic individuals find in their specialized interests.
Ah, okay. So it turns a casual hobby into something much more meaningful, rewarding.
Exactly. It adds that layer of depth.
Right. Okay, let's shift gears a bit. Let's talk about connection. Communication.
Hmm. Another really interesting area.
It seems like communication styles that really prioritize directness, getting straight to the point, which you sometimes see more often with neurodivergent folks, can actually lead to more authentic conversations, even if they feel a bit different from typical social chit-chat.
Well, I think the key is the intention behind it. When the focus is genuinely on clarity, on exchanging actual ideas, it kind of slices through the superficial stuff that often dominates.
Yeah, the weather talk.
Right. And that can open the door to more meaningful connections. It might feel a little unfamiliar at first, perhaps.
Sure, so a practical way to try this. Instead of walking into, say, a party, dreading the small talk,
Hmm.
maybe prepare like three more substantial questions beforehand, things you're actually curious about, like what's something you've changed your mind about recently, or what part of your work gives you the most satisfaction.
Oh, I like those. Yeah, good examples.
Questions that invite a real answer, not just a one-word reply.
Exactly. And then this is the important part, really listen. Practice active listening. Don't just wait for your turn to talk or plan your response while they're speaking.
That's hard.
It is. But it's a skill, actually, that many individuals with ADHD often develop strategies for. precisely because they have to consciously manage their attention. It shifts the whole dynamic.
From performing politeness to actually engaging.
Yes, engaging with their thoughts, their experiences,
Yeah.
genuinely connecting.
Wow, okay. That could definitely transform those routine "how are you" fine exchanges.
It really could.
Now, another fascinating area was systems analysis. This idea that many neurodivergent minds really excel at seeing patterns, understanding how complex things fit together.
Yes, systems thinking. It's this ability to see the interconnectedness of everything
Mm.
instead of just looking at a problem in isolation.
But just focusing on one symptom.
Right. Systems thinking encourages you to map out all the influencing factors and how they relate. Like understanding a car engine, a problem isn't just the spark plug. It's part of a whole ignition and fuel system.
Makes sense. So how would you apply that practically to your own life? Let's say you're facing a big decision, like a career change.
Okay. Well, instead of just a simple pros and cons list,
Mm,
which can be helpful but limited,
right.
the suggestion is to actually create a visual map. Literally draw it out. Put down all the elements, locations, skills needed, money, your core values, family considerations, everything.
Oh.
And then draw lines. Show how these things connect. How does location affect finances? How do your values connect to the skills you want to use?
Ah, I see. So you're mapping the relationships between the parts.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And what's powerful is that this visual map can reveal much deeper connections, potential ripple effects that a simple list just wouldn't show you.
You start seeing the underlying structure of the challenge.
Precisely. It gives you a much more comprehensive understanding, which usually leads to better, more informed solutions, like getting that bird's eye view.
That makes a lot of sense, getting out of the weeds. Okay, next. Routines. We all have them, right? Things we do every day, often without really thinking.
Oh, definitely. Habits form, and they become automatic pilot.
And apparently questioning those norms, those automatic behaviors, is something often seen in neurodivergent perspectives. There's less taking things for granted just because that's how it's done.
Yes, there can be a natural tendency to ask why about things others accept without question. Applying that to our own lives can be incredibly revealing.
So the practical step here is maybe pick one routine you do regularly, like your morning ritual, your commute, how you exercise,
Any regular habit.
and deliberately ask, why? Why do I do it exactly this way? What purpose does it actually serve right now? Could I maybe restructure it to fit my current needs or values better?
It's about bringing conscious intention back into it.
Right.
And that deliberate questioning can really shake things up in a good way. It can revitalize routines that have gone stale or aren't really serving you anymore, might free up time, energy.
Making the mundane more meaningful, perhaps.
Potentially, yes.
Mm.
Or just more efficient and aligned with who you are now.
Okay, and this next one, travel. This offers a really different spin on how many of us approach vacations.
Yeah, the checklist approach to tourism. See the Eiffel Tower? Check. Colosseum? Check next.
Exactly. Trying to cram in as many famous sites as possible. This suggestion is, well, completely different.
It really flips the script towards deep immersion instead
Yeah.
of just like superficial coverage.
So instead of hitting 5 cities in 10 days,
Right. The idea is pick one small area, maybe just a single neighborhood in a big city or one small town, and just stay there. Explore it deeply.
how does that look in practice?
Well, imagine spending several days just in that one spot. Maybe you find a local bakery and go every morning until they know your order. Or you strike up conversations with shopkeepers, people in the park, ask them about local issues, what life is really like there. Just sit on a bench and observe the daily rhythm.
It sounds slower, more observant.
It is. And it taps into those keen observational skills that are often quite strong in many neurodivergent individuals. That ability to notice details, to really see what's happening,
So it transforms travel from collecting photos to...
to making a genuine connection with a place, with its people. It becomes a much richer, probably more memorable experience. Less about consumption, more about understanding.
I really like that idea. But okay, let's be realistic. Making these kinds of shifts, deliberately stepping off autopilot, whether it's travel or routines or communication, it's not always easy, is it?
Definitely not. There's often real internal resistance.
Like what? What holds people back?
Well, several things. There's social pressure, right? Worrying about what others think if you're not constantly busy or doing things the normal way.
The fear of looking inefficient or odd.
Exactly. And sometimes slowing down to engage deeply feels less efficient, at least initially, compared to juggling lots of surface-level tasks. Plus, honestly, there's just comfort in the familiar. Autopilot feels safe.
Yeah, the known path is always easier. So how do you tackle that resistance? What helps people actually make these changes?
Well, the advice generally boils down to a few things. First, start small. Don't try to overhaul everything at once.
Okay. Pick one small thing.
Right. Maybe just dedicate 30 minutes a week to that deep interest. Or try one real question at the next social gathering. Small steps.
Manageable. What else?
Connecting with others helps. Find people who are also trying to live more intentionally. A shared goal makes it easier. And crucially, reframe the discomfort.
Reframe discomfort. How?
See that feeling of awkwardness or uncertainty, not as a stop sign, but as a proof you're stretching yourself. It's a sign of growth, not failure.
Ah, so lean into the discomfort a bit. See it as positive feedback.
Exactly. It means you're actually moving, changing. Building that support network can also really help you stick with it when it feels tough.
That makes sense. So, wrapping this all up, this deep dive, it really highlights how valuable it can be to look at the world through different lenses, doesn't it?
Absolutely. By sort of learning from the perspectives and natural tendencies of individuals with diverse cognitive styles,
Mm.
neurodivergent folks,
Mhm.
we can all find pathways away from that autopilot existence.
Towards something more meaningful, authentic.
Yeah, I think that's the core shift. Moving away from a life defined only by external achievements, ticking boxes,
Mm-hmm.
and embracing life more as this ongoing journey, a process of discovery, of personal growth, prioritizing depth, finding meaning in genuine engagement, not just what society tells us matters.
And ultimately, it sounds like it's not just about having a more interesting life, but a more real life, one that actually lines up with your own values, fueled by real curiosity and connection.
Spot on. Which brings us to the final thought, really, for you listening.
Okay.
Think about one specific area of your life right now. Is there a place where you suspect you might be running on autopilot, just going through the motions?
Hmm.
If something comes to mind, what's just one small concrete step you could take this week, inspired by some of these ideas, to approach that one area with a little more depth, a bit more intention?
Just one small step.
Just one, because often it's in those small, deliberate shifts that the biggest, most lasting changes really begin.